I give for the love of giving. I give out of guilt. And sometimes I do give out of obligation. Sometimes I maybe don't want to go see my parents. I'd rather just sleep. But I give because I think about what would I do if something happened to my parents. That makes me think about consequences of my not wanting to. In this moment, I don't want to, but it's so important for me that I have to do it, because if I don't, I will regret it. And I don't want to have any regrets. So when it comes to doing things out of obligation, I'm guilty of that too. Hi, this is Harjeet and welcome to Heartbeat with Harjeet. Today I want to talk to you about the 5 reasons that people give. Understanding why a person gives can help you understand how to receive and whether you want to receive, and just understanding the person's character in general, which will make you more compassionate or more guarded. Understanding why a person gives is based on how they give and how they make you feel when they give. And knowing me, I love my acronyms, so I created an acronym for these 5 reasons. My acronym is O GLEE. So let's break down O GLEE. Let's start with the O. Always got to start with the first letter. O is for obligation. There are certain people that will give out of obligation. Those are the people that think that they have to. They have no choice but to give. Say, for example, it's a child's relationship with their parent or a parent's relationship with their child. You think you have to always be giving to them. If your child asks you to go get their favorite doll, rather than teach your child how to get their own favorite doll, you'll run and you'll go get it. And the same way for a child, as they grow older and their parent asks for something, they're always there ready for their parent to give because they think they have to. Giving out of obligation means that we're people pleasing because we don't know how to say no. We feel like putting their needs ahead of ours will be better for I don't know who, but it will be better. The term labeled as people pleasing. The bitterness and resentment that builds up inside of you is not really worth the people pleasing or giving out of obligation. That's for the giver. And for the receiver, when a person does give to you out of obligation, you can recognize that. When a person is always there for you, they're never saying no, and you feel like you're burdening them. You actually sometimes know that you're asking them all the time. You know how much they put out for everybody else. So you can recognize that they do give out of obligation. They are people pleasing. They feel like they don't have a choice but to say yes. You can help them by teaching them that saying no is fine, and putting themselves ahead of your wants is also fine. It's a want society. Everybody wants something. We don't have to want it from somebody else, because when we want it from somebody else, it's at the expense of what that person wants, and that's not really fair to them. When we want something and another person is obliging to give us that, we appreciate it, for sure we do. But if that person is always obliging, and that person is going to feel bitterness and resentment about the giving process. The giving process isn't supposed to make you bitter or resentful. It's supposed to release serotonin inside of you, which makes you happier, because we're humans, we are born to give. If there is a person that you feel can't say no to you, is people pleasing, has this complex of always having to give, not knowing that there's another option, try and gently encourage them to say no. You will be so proud of yourself that you helped somebody else saying no. Let's go on to G. G is giving out of guilt. I find that when a person can say the word sorry, they either over-apologize by doing things or getting you things because they feel so remorseful. They are doing it out of guilt because they feel so bad about what they did, and that sorry doesn't cut it. Then there's also the people that instead of saying sorry, they'll buy you some flowers, and that means that they're sorry. So there are 2 ways in which a person can give out of guilt. I have to tell you, I'm a victim of this. Don't know if victim is the right word, but I do give out of guilt. I feel when I have been away from my children for a long period of time, I come back and I'm overcompensating for the time I was away because I feel guilty. Mom guilt, it's a real thing. Not every mother has it. Some mothers are stronger and guarded against it. I feel that I should be there for my kids all the time, not necessarily giving them things, but just to be there for them, give them my time and my energy. If I'm not giving them my time and my energy, I feel guilty. I don't feel that anybody else can give them that time and energy that I do. We've all got our own issues to work with, and I know that mom guilt is a big one for me. It's my way of saying sorry for being away for so long. And I feel that it compensates for my time being away. I recognize it's not the best reason to give. And when you do overcompensate because you feel guilty, then the person's demands of you will increase. So my children will expect me more because I've overcompensated for the time I was away. they will be tougher on me when I do need to go out because they appreciate me being at home. It's never a win to give out of guilt. Let's move on to L, love. Giving out of love. Giving for the love of giving. How many of you actually give for the love of giving? Be honest with yourselves, not with me. Be honest with yourself. How many of you actually enjoy the process of giving? Giving because it just feels good. And that's the best feeling ever. When there's nothing that you expect in return, you don't feel guilty, you're not doing it because you're obligated. It's all because you want to give, and there's nothing that's driving you except for the love of giving. When you can give from that, and only that, that's when you're in a great place inside of yourself. Being able to give just for the love of giving, your serotonin levels are probably going sky high. You're actually showing more compassion. You are healthy in your own life that you can give just for the love of giving. Imagine that you know that your neighbor needs something and you're not thinking about competing with them, being better than them. They need something, you have it. You're not thinking about what they have and what you're giving back. It's never from your headspace. It's always just from your heart space. It's like, I know somebody needs something and I'm available and I have the resources to help them. So I'm going to help them. I'm going to help them just because I love to give, and it's all about the love of giving. Once you can give for the love of giving, you're in a very good place, and a lot of people are going to envy you. They're going to question your giving techniques and why you give and how you give. All you can do is encourage people to give for the love of giving. A lot of people, they don't love giving. If you're one of the people that does actually love giving, encourage other people to love the process. It's all about wanting it. If we don't give for the other 4 reasons, but I'm sure that we do time to time, then we're giving for the love of giving. So that would define L. Let's move on to E, ego. Giving for an ego boost. If you see a homeless person on the street and you get out your camera, you get someone to film it and you give them something and then you post it online, it goes viral. You wanted to give, but you wanted to film it because you wanted to get likes, you wanted to get comments, you wanted to get an ego boost. It's fair. Giving is giving. At the end of the day, when we give, we give. The energy that you put out there when you give, when you want an ego boost, the energy is going back to you. You want the ego boost. The other person's receiving it because they need it. You are giving because you want to feel superior to that person, that you're more powerful, that you're better. The ego complex is a tough one because a lot of people have an ego. It's quite normal to have an ego. When I'm defining these reasons, it doesn't make you bad or good. The reason that you give doesn't make you or break you. It's just helping you understand yourself, your giving style, helping you understand other people, the receivers understanding the givers and the givers understanding the receivers. If you give from your ego space, you are expecting a massive amount of thanks. You're expecting lots of rewards in return for giving for your ego. You're just looking to be a hero and you just want to be told how great you are all the time. If you want to donate to charity, that's great. Second, that you write up a large check and you give it on camera, you've taken away the love of giving because you have made it all about your ego. I want to give you some examples of people who could have been about their ego, but were actually giving for the love of giving. Bon Jovi, he works in a soup kitchen these days. I bet you didn't know that. George Michael was giving all his life while he was alive, and he didn't come to fruition until he passed away. The amount of things that celebrities have done before they passed away, and it only came out when they passed away, is remarkable. One story that resonates with me is Paul Walker. He was in a jewelry shop, and there was a couple. They were talking about an engagement ring. Unfortunately, the male in the relationship couldn't afford the ring, and the fiance really wanted it, but it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a make or break. They couldn't afford it. So they walked out the shop, but they knew that they loved this ring. Within minutes, the cashier was running after them with the ring in her hand, and she handed it to them and said that, I can't tell you who bought this for you, but somebody wanted you to have this ring. They were in shock. They just took the ring. After Paul Walker passed away, they learned that it was Paul Walker. That's giving for the love of giving. Paul Walker could have boosted his ego. He didn't. I want that to sit with you for a little while and just let you know that giving for the love of giving is the best reason to give. I just want to remind you again, everybody has an ego. Everybody uses an ego to their advantage. It's also part of confidence too, right? Let's move on to the final one, giving for expectation. This one ties in with the ego because when you give, you expect something in return. And sometimes people who have an ego do. Let's go back to E. E, the final E in O GLEE, is about giving for expectation. So when you expect something in return for your give, you're counting down all the gives. Say if you're in a relationship, you are buying flowers for your spouse, you are cleaning floors for your spouse, you're helping them in ways that you think they don't know. You are keeping a little checklist, a mental checklist of all the things you do, just to make sure that they know what you're doing. So if there's ever a moment where they say that, oh, you didn't do the clothes, you can say, but I did this and I did this and I did this and I did this. You're thinking about all the things that you're doing for that person, and that person is just seeing the one thing that you're not. This goes hand in hand, because the person who's seeing the one thing that you're not maybe does see the 5 things that you did, but didn't thank you for it, which is a validation thing, which can come with obligation or with an ego. A lot of humans need validation for what they're doing. And if you don't get the validation, then you are going to hold on to all the things you've done to protect yourself, especially if you're not getting validation, which in love languages is words of affirmation. If you hear, oh my God, you're so great, you're so amazing, you clean the floor so well, oh my God, thank you so much for doing the grocery shopping, I was going to do it. When you do these things for the love of giving, you'll see a difference in the person that's receiving the give. They should shift to accepting the give. They maybe don't say thank you, but they're more likely to respond to that. And when they notice the one thing that you didn't do, it won't be as much of an attack feeling that you didn't do anything. It might feel more like, oh, I understand I did all that, but it doesn't mean that I didn't do enough, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't do enough. When we do something, we all want human validation. Who doesn't want to thank you? Who doesn't want to be known that they did something? People that give for the love of giving, they do it for the love of giving. They don't need a thank you. They don't need anything in return. They don't need to feel special. They're not doing it because they have to. It's all about the want. When you take away the expectation of giving, you're not expecting anything back. Say if you ask for something and the person says no, and you feel like, well, I did so much for you, now you need to do something for me. A lot of people do talk about this with their friends and relationships in general. They talk about how much they give and they're not getting the same amount back. Of course, it should be a give and take exchange, but also the giver has to understand that you can't overly give to expect things back. Just because you're giving more, that person isn't going to give more back to you either. So you have to be thinking about the expectation of why you're giving. If you're expecting somebody to give you back, or if you're expecting someone to behave a certain way, that person might not. When you give for the love of giving, you're doing it for you, and you only have yourself to answer to. There's nobody that holds any power over you. I just want to finish off by saying the 5 reasons that people give O GLEE: out of obligation, out of guilt, for the love of giving, for their ego, and for expectation. A lot of people don't understand certain behaviors about themselves, and a lot of people don't understand behaviors about other people. My videos are all about understanding yourself. I just want to remind you that I don't want anybody to overanalyze themselves or other people, but just to have an understanding, a basic understanding, because people are raised different. People have a different giving style. And the receiver understanding that and the giver understanding that can make a whole change when you think about it and it resonates with you. If I missed anything, I'm sure you will let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. I hope you like, I hope you rewatch, I hope you share, I hope you subscribe, and I'll look out for you at the next video.